agriculture. The ancient Mayan civilization occupied an area of approximately 500,000 square kilometers and extended its dominions throughout the countries of Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and the western part of Honduras. Also, they extended their dominion all through the Yucatan Peninsula. Let's talk about their social organization. Mayan society was divided into social classes. Let's look at the first three parts of the social pyramid. At the head of each city was the supreme chief, which was honored as a king or high priest called Halak Eunuch. He was the highest political authority in the city. In the second part of the pyramid was the priestly caste. It was often made up of royal family, and their influence was noticeable in all aspects of society. Su influencia era notoria en todos los aspectos de la sociedad. In third place were the nobles and warriors. They were the city officials and administrators. So these first three classes were important and honored. Now let's look at the last two parts of the pyramid. In fourth place were the merchants and artisans, or artisans and peasants, los artesanos y los plebeyos. They had to work, and they also had to pay taxes to those of higher ranks. And in the last place were the slaves. They were generally prisoners captured in wars and put to work in the most humiliating tasks. This was the most inferior class of all. Esta era la clase más inferior de todas. Now let's talk about their economic organization. The main economic activity of the Mayans was agriculture. In their lands, they grew corn, beans, squash, and chili. At the beginning, they only exchanged agricultural products. Al principio, ellos solamente intercambiaban productos agriculturales, such as fish, honey, shells, salt, and feathers. But later, for them to buy products, they had to purchase with coins and precious stones. Para comprar los productos tenían que pagar con monedas o piedras preciosas. This is an illustration of the Mayan agriculture. As you can see, these were the merchants, peasants, or artisans that had to work and pay taxes y pagar impuestos a los de rangos mayores. Let's move on to their religion. We're not going to go deep on their beliefs, but we're going to mention a few facts. The Mayan people were very religious. In the city, there were majestic pyramidal temples where festivals and rituals were held in honor of their gods. They offered corn and gold. Corn because they believed that it was the blood of Mother Earth, and gold because they believed it was the blood of the sun. Around the year 1200 before Christ, there was an invasion of semi-nomadic people in the Mesoamerican region. One of the invading towns was that of the Toltecs, who were joined by the descendants of the builders of the great city of the Teotihuacan. This union allowed newcomers to acquire knowledge, custom, and beliefs of Mesoamerican cultures. Esta unión permitió que los nuevos adquieran conocimiento, costumbres y creencias de las culturas mesoamericanas. The Toltecs erected a state that dominated a large part of the region. However, its power declined. At that time, another warrior town called the Tenacas, Mexicas or Aztecs, arrived from the north, which settled in a valley around Lake Texcoco, as you can see in the picture, a region that began to be called Mexica. When they reached the shores of Lake Texcoco, the Mexica or Aztecs were poor and weak. They had to be content with the land one of the area chiefs let them occupy. Cuando llegaron a las orillas del lago Texcoco, los aztecas eran pobres y débiles y tuvieron que contentarse con la tierra que uno de los jefes del área les dejó ocupar. He gave them lands where snakes abounded in order for them to be bitten. Les dio tierras donde abundaban las serpientes para que los piquen. But the Mexicans were happy to see them because they knew how to kill and eat them. In 1325, they founded the city of Tenochtitlan, and from there, they extended year after year their dominion over the entire area. Now let's move on to their religion. In class, we talked about the Mayans, but like the Mayans, the Aztecs worshipped various gods, the main ones being Tlaloc, the god of water and rain, and Huitzilopochtli, god of war and divine guide of the Aztecs, the Aztec society. The Aztec society was run by the nobles, who, in addition to being the military chiefs, were state administrators and priests. So, at the top of the pyramid, en la punta de la pirámide, these were the first people. The greatest leader, the Tlautani, who was chosen from among the noble families, was revered as a king. El gran líder, el Tlautani, quien fue escogido entre las familias nobles, era reverenciado como rey. The first monarch was Moctezuma I, who reigned between 1440 and 1496. Let's talk about another part of the pyramid. In an intermediate place of the social scale were the Pochitecas, who were artisans, doctors, and merchants. Below these were the peasants, who lived in neighborhoods called Calpulli. And in the most disadvantaged situation of all were the slaves, generally captives of wars. Let's look at the pyramid. As you can see here, in first place we have the king or the high priest. Then we have the council. Usually they were part of the royal family. Then we have the nobles. Then we have the merchants and artisans, also known as the Pochitecas. And then we have the commoners, farmers, and slaves. Now let's talk about the empire formation. At first, the Aztecs served as mercenaries to other towns until they decided to associate with a neighboring seignory, that of Texcoco, and both joined the seignory of Tlacopan. Al principio los aztecas servían como mercenarios para otros pueblos hasta que decidieron asociarse con pueblos vecinos, como el Texcoco, y luego ambos se juntaron a Tlacopan. Thus, between the three, they formed the Triple Alliance, with which the Aztecs expanded their dominions over a vast territory. Look at the image here. These are the symbols for the three cities that make up the Triple Alliance. So we have Texcoco, Tenochtitlan, and Tlacopan. Over time, the city of Tenochtitlan became the capital of Mesoamerica. It was filled with tall pyramids and temples, palaces, gardens, and long canals. Under Aztec rule, subjugated peoples were to pay tribute and contribute soldiers for new conquests. Bajo el mandato de los aztecas, las personas subyugadas tenían que pagar tributo y contribuir con soldados para nuevas conquistas. When the Aztecs arrived in the Texcoco Valley, they were organized in 4 large communities called Calpulli, which means big house. where everyone lived in equality without privileges or economic differences. When the Tenochtitlan became an imperial center, there were 20 Calpulis composed of only peasants. The rest left their ancient communities and became privileged classes, the nobility and the pochitecas. Cuando Tenochtitlan se convirtió en un centro imperial, habían solamente 20 Calpulis compuestos solamente por campesinos. El resto dejó sus antiguas comunidades y se volvieron clases privilegiadas, como la nobleza y los pochitecas.
This is all our review for today. Next week we have a test based on these two groups of people, the Mayans and the Aztecs. So please make sure to complete the worksheet that is already up on the platform and study very well. Next week, we will not have a video. We will have a Zoom session for you to do your test. Have a good week, everybody. Bye!